Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RMTV Women's podcast. Today, me and Andy are going to chat ahead of Spurs at the weekend as the WSL returns following international break. We haven't done it. I feel like we haven't done a video in about a month. Just because of like international stuff, it feels like ages. Obviously, the last time round would have been all the post Merseyside derby stuff, which we don't like to look back on
We'll not go
and
there.
reflect on. We won't. We will not go there. That was not ideal, but we move on. We obviously had Sunderland in the Continental Cup as well. Just after that,
Oh, full title.
yeah, full title. Very professional on this podcast, you know.
Continental Towers Cup.
Yeah, but obviously that ended in a win for us, a nice 1-0 win away from home. Again, that wasn't streamed anywhere. It was, like you said before, and it was supposed to
Yeah.
be on the Sunderland Twitter, but I think they had like some technical issues, so
Yeah.
no idea what happened
The
in
technical issue being they're rubbish and
yeah,
didn't want to show the game.
we had no
Yeah.
idea what happened in that game at all, so we won't touch on that either. But we'll look ahead to Spurs at the weekend, back in WSL action. We were talking just off this then, obviously saying we're not quite sure what we're going to expect ahead of that game on Sunday. Obviously, things need to change a little bit from last time out against Everton. I think the big question mark is what kind of like team he's going to go for, kind of vibe he's going to hit there. Obviously, last time he wanted to try Taylor Hines on the left wing. That was a big no from all of
Mm-mm.
us. I think that was a big no from Matt Beard at the end as well. He held his hands up and said he got it wrong there. But obviously we've had like a few little niggles and injuries as well. So it's one of them with Spurs, like who do you kind of go for? I mean, I think the front, the main one up top's obviously obvious. I think he's probably going to go Stengel there.
Yeah.
He seems pretty set on a back 5-3 as he likes to go for, but I think it's still very much early days in the season as well of trying to find like our best 11. I think personally for me anyway. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah, I think so. I think in more or less every position as well, probably apart from wing back. But even then, as you say, he plays Hines on the left wing. I think Rachel Laws, Coavisto, and Hines are shoe-ins. Even the back three, I have a few concerns about in terms of the pace, really. And, a couple of times we saw Everton certainly get in behind. Against Chelsea, it wasn't so much because we knew we kind of had to sit in the edge of our box for a lot of that game.
Yeah.
At the midfield, there's always kind of been question marks over who starts there, which is good. That's good, healthy competition in terms of 3 or 4 players. Yeah, and then the front three has been kind of thrown up in the air as well. I mean, Stengel definitely will play. I think Melissa Lawley will play as well, as frustrating as she was for me in the derby. And then the other side of things, I mean, without Kiernan and without Shanice van de Sanden, as I'm sure we'll maybe touch on later on, he has to go Daniels at this point. I think she was effective in both games she came on. Obviously, we haven't seen how she did against Sunderland when she got her start, but she's a big girl. She's quick. She's physical. She's strong and she's powerful. And those traits can get you a long way, especially in a league like the WSL when you play like a team like Liverpool do. And yeah, it doesn't look great for her in terms of like the kind of vote of no confidence to play a left wing back ahead of her. But I'm sure Matt will have sat down, explained what he was trying to do there, and I mean he's come out and explicitly said he made a mistake. So it's Daniel's time to shine. She'll probably have at least a couple of weeks in this position. It sounds like Van de Sande is going to be out for a wee while, and we know Kiernan's out for a wee while. So yeah, it's her time to shine, and I'm looking forward to seeing her hopefully start.
Yeah, I think she'll start as well. I think it's a weird one, isn't it? Because she did play quite a bit last season for us, and she seemed pretty much a shoe in for a lot of games. But then seems to have dropped off a little bit this season, which is it's football, it's the inevitable. It's just
And
based on
she didn't really
how.
start last season either. Yeah,
No,
at the start of the season,
yeah,
it
yeah,
was she very much sort of came in towards the end. But that kind of happened a lot of the time last season. There's certain players started the season well, dropped out, finished the season well. It was very much like a sort of consistent level of performance, even when individual players dropped and peaked. So yeah, it'll probably have to be the same this season.
yeah. And then there's the question about your midfield too as well, because he does like to play that two in midfield. I think Kerry Holland's always a starter for
Yeah,
me. I think she's one of our best players. I think she very much goes under the radar a lot of the time as well. Because she obviously doesn't score a lot. She doesn't get that many assists, but it's the work off the ball as well that she does for me that I advise anyone if they're going to watch a Liverpool women's game, just watch Kerry Holland for like 10, 15 minutes of it, and you'll see that she just works her absolute socks off every single time. So I think she's like a definite for me. And then it's the question mark of do you go Bo Kane, do you go Rachel Fairness, do you go Carla Humphrey? Like there's options in there, and that's
No.
kind of like it's no to the latter, but there's options in there for the midfield, but that's kind of what you lose out when you're only playing like a two, isn't it? It's like you're very
Yeah.
limited on your position. So definitely Kelly Holland for me, but then I don't know, maybe you go like a Rachel Fairness, someone who can just absolutely battle for the ball as well.
I think I probably would slightly favour Furness, obvious bias aside. I
Yeah,
think he does go to a midfield three towards the last sort of 15, 20 minutes against Everton. He brings Wardlaw on, plays with defensive midfield, and plays Furness and Holland
yeah,
ahead of her. Or, you can sort of invert that pyramid a bit, and it probably makes more sense to play Wardlaw and Holland behind Furness, giving her a bit more protection. Yeah, I think, first of all, on Kerry Holland, yeah, fantastic, fantastic player. Last season, because we had a lot of the ball, you probably didn't see as much of her. She's not going to be a player that shines when you're as much when your favourites in a game, or maybe is not that visible when your favourites in a game. She's still doing all that dirty work. She's still winning the ball back, but because you're expecting to win the ball back straight away anyway, you maybe don't notice the fact that Kerry Holland does it over and over and over and time again.
yeah,
And yeah, it's a difficult one for Kearns. I mean, Kearns is a phenomenally talented footballer. She's phenomenally talented, but
yeah,
like any young player, especially in midfield where it's so hard to play, she needs to adapt her game a little bit as well. Last season,
yeah,
have a lot of the ball, a lot of opportunities to get in attacking areas, especially when Holland's playing behind her in that too, and was able to show her quality, same in pre-season. And by the way, will be the same at some point this season. However, there's a few people who said it was disappointing to see her getting taken off because she's the local girl in the Merseyside derby. But for me, tactically, it was absolutely the right decision,
yeah,
and that's all Matt Beard has to consider. So, yeah, I think when you see Furness come on in that game, and not only was she just a little bit more of a threat going forward, she wins headers, and that's something we weren't doing against Chelsea before she came on. That's something we didn't do against Everton in the first half. And that's even sort of could be a defensive ploy against a team like Spurs, where, albeit they haven't had the best start to the season, we are still heavy underdogs for that game. And, you can throw her into the midfield for a little bit of physicality, a little bit of aerial presence. And
yeah,
she will give you that little bit more going forward as well. So, I mean, if I was picking the team personally, I'd be tempted to go for a 3 and try that out, because I think we are going to need to try that out at times this season. There's going to be games where 2 in there just isn't enough.
yeah,
But if he is going to go with a 2, which I think he probably will, I'd slightly favour Holland and Furness just over Kearns. I think Humphrey's a strange one. Everyone said she was going to come in and she was bought for the WSL. I can't really understand how you can
mm,
be a player good enough for the WSL but didn't really get a minute in the championship. But we'll see. These players will have to come in and play a part, and we'll,
yeah,
we'll get to truly judge them. So yeah, that would be my midfield. I slightly favour Furness over Kearns. I don't know about you.
yeah. I'd probably go Holland and Fairness. I think he'll start Holland and Keynes, to be honest with you, because
Do
that's
you?
I think he will go with that because I feel like he looks at Finnish now as a more of an impact player from the
Mhm.
bench. Um, I think it's kind of like he assesses the game and sees how it's going, and like you said, she's that person who can come on and like dominate, kind of
Yeah,
like in that area. So especially when a team's flagging towards the end, she's battling. That's kind of like
true.
an impact from the bench kind of thing. So I think he just kind of favors Cairns in terms of like her ball playing skills compared to Fairness. Not that I think there's that much difference, but
No, but
from like
but
set piece wise, I think he thinks about all that kind of stuff as well with Cairns.
yeah, absolutely. And I think on Kearns, it's very difficult because against Everton, when they're kind of winning every second ball and pinning us back, Kearns just ends up kind of playing like a second defensive midfielder, and
Mhm.
that's just not where our skill set's going to be. 20 years old, the type of player she is, it's absolutely justified and fair if she struggles a little bit in a three in midfield in the WSL for a while. Doing a two is very, very difficult for her. So it'll be interesting to see if he wants to persist with that, or even just give her some time out of the limelight. I'm not too sure. But as you say, we do have options there. And,
Yeah.
even, worst comes to worst, you can throw in a wild card. I don't think he's going to do it for this game, but if midfielders are really off form, you can throw a wild card like a Fahy or a Jazz Matthews plays there in pre-season. There's
Yeah.
lots of different players who can come and fill in. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that partnership just yet.
No, definitely not. To kind of touch on Spurs a little bit, obviously we played them in the Continental Cup last season. Um, I went to that game and I thought we were very unfortunate not to come away with something.
Mhm.
If I remember correctly, it was a 1-0 defeat,
Yeah,
and their goal was kind of like a breakaway, fast paced, like back post tapping kind of goal, I think. And we did quite well against them. I mean, Spurs are one of those teams that have kind of like come into the limelight in the last season or two. Um, I don't think a lot of people expected them to kind of. I think they finished fifth last season,
yeah.
so which is like really good. I don't think they were that far off top four either. So they're that team that you're kind of like battling with this season. I think there's Spurs, maybe like your West Ham, who are kind of all going for those mid-table positions, maybe even trying to touch fourth or fifth spot. But yeah, we held our own very well against them last year. So part of me is not as nervous as I'd think. Going into a game like this, obviously, I prefer to have like Kiernan and Van der Sanden available because they are the players that can change games. But I mean, you've just got to look at the style play that we had against Chelsea that you think, okay, well, you can kind of take the game to Spurs rather than kind of sit off and wait for something to happen. Like I think we can definitely make a good game out of it against them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good litmus test for us to see what level we're at. For me, expectations do need to be slightly realigned after the defeat in the Merseyside derby. I'm talking to myself more than anyone else because I was getting very excited after that Chelsea game.
Yeah,
Obviously, we were singing we're going to win the league in the pub. We didn't actually
yeah,
think we were going to win the league, but I did think that sort of anyone outside those top 4 or 5 teams we could challenge this season. And I thought sort of sixth was an attainable position. Who knows? It might still be. We might come up with a formation and a system of players who can challenge pretty much every team in the league apart from the top 4 or 5. We're not sure yet. I always looked at Spurs because remember initially this was supposed to be the fourth game, wasn't it? We're supposed to have
yeah,
Reading, Chelsea, Everton, and we sort of said, you'd like to make a game of it against Reading and Everton, maybe get 3 or 4 points from that. Chelsea's a write off, and then Spurs. We'll see where we're at because
yeah.
they're the team.
I think we were all very unsure about Spurs, weren't
Yeah,
we?
and I think, we're looking at Spurs and we're thinking that's the next stage of where we need to be. First of all, we need to stay up. We need to establish ourselves as WSL team. But once we've done that, we want to be that Spurs team who's sort of peering in, having a look, knocking on the door of the Manchester clubs, of the Chelsea and Arsenal's will come after that in the cycle. So it'll be interesting to see. And I watched their game against Arsenal in the North London. Well, I wasn't really concentrating on it, to be honest. The BBC coverage did my head in when they were talking about us against Chelsea, but that's another thing.
Yeah,
This idea that we were lucky against Chelsea or that Chelsea were wasteful in front of goal is absolute nonsense and is letting them off the hook massively.
yeah,
There were a couple of chances for them, but we're not saying 30-yard volleys that nearly fly into the top corner is wasteful in front of goal.
yeah,
Liverpool held them at arm's length and did so really well.
yeah,
But anyway, I could go on all day for that, and you've
yeah.
heard
You
me go
really
on all day
could.
for that because I did about 4 voice notes, 1 minute long in the chat
Yeah,
after it. Really wound me up. Anyway, yeah, against Everton, we're quite poor. We do look very much second best. There are tactical issues there, but we also did look second best in terms of fitness, in terms of speed, in terms of just our sort of wrangling any sort of control of that game. So I don't really know where we're at the moment. And it'll probably be a wee while until we actually do find out exactly where we are without Kieran's massive blow. But you trust him to come up with some sort of a method in some sort of way. I think pace in behind is my main issue at the moment because Stengel doesn't really offer any of it. Lawley is a fantastic player, but doesn't, running in behind isn't even her game. Daniels has a little bit, but even the likes of Van de Sande coming back in is not really that type of player. I'm sure she can,
Yeah.
I'm sure she can shift, but she's getting on now, she's in her 30s, isn't she? And it's probably not her game to burst in behind. So Kieran was the only one who really offered that run into the channel, and that's what concerns me slightly because these top level WSL teams can squeeze the game into the area of the pitch that they want and ultimately dictate it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. The expectations are very different. We go into this game knowing that if we get anything, it's a really good result, and we're really happy coming out of that. Before the men almost certainly don't get a very good result against Man City, but I'm glad we're not having to talk about that.
It's Sunday's just gonna be one of those games. It's gonna either
Yeah.
be the best day ever or the worst day ever for both the men and the women. So we'll see. But yeah, Spurs Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock kickoff. Just to kind of touch on like the men's and women's games, I was looking at like all the fixtures and stuff, and there's not that many that clash this
Yeah,
season.
compared to last year.
Yeah, last year there was so many that there was
Yeah.
like they either overlapped or we were all at home
Yeah.
like at the same time and stuff. But this season there's not that many, and especially the likes of like you look at Sundays, one of those days like there's the men are 4:30 kickoff.
Men are 4:30. Yeah, we're two
So
o'clock, aren't we?
yeah, and the women
Mhm.
are 2 o'clock. So the women are finishing at 10 to 4 o'clock, and then
Yeah.
you've got enough time to kind of recover and then get back into to go into the men's game. Obviously, those who are going to Anfield and stuff, it'll be a bit more
Yeah.
difficult and
It'd be
whatever.
great if somewhere could show that around Anfield. I know it's
Yeah,
difficult. It's on the FA player who knows what the deal is with rights and in regards to showing that. But
yeah,
I'd absolutely go to whichever pub was showing that game beforehand rather than watching
yeah.
bloody Villa
Well,
against Chelsea or whatever
you'd like to
nonsense
think,
they have on.
obviously, like Hotel Anfield and
Yeah.
whatever else do things before the men's matches. So you'd like to think that they'd have that on the big screen.
Yeah.
I mean, who did we watch last time before
Chelsea
the
City, but that
derby?
was on Sky Sports.
That was on
So I
Sky,
think it's
wasn't it?
easier.
Yeah,
FA Player is just a website, isn't this? You just basically having to do what you do at home, bang the HDMI
yeah,
in and put it on somewhere.
yeah. It's
It's a
where the
lot of
fun
effort
comes from.
for when probably most people there, unfortunately, would rather watch Villa against Chelsea.
Yeah, more than
Um,
likely.
so I suppose if they were to show it, it's on us to go and buy loads of
Yeah,
pints, and
you just have to.
I'll happily sacrifice for myself for that, for the
Yeah.
greater good of the women's game.
You just have to stick it on your phone on the table and you just hope
I
for the
think that's probably
best.
what I actually will end up doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just hope for the best there.
yeah,
But I'm not going to do score predictions because we always get it wrong.
yeah.
The fact that we said we were going to beat Everton like 3-0 or 3-1 or something, and we ended up getting absolutely twatted. Basically, was just
Yeah.
not. There's just not the way I want to go forward in this season. So no score predictions from us. But if you want to let us know in the comments your score predictions, please do. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining me, Andy.
No
In
problem.
the absence of Amy. Um, yeah, we'll do more. We say this all the time, but we will. We just life gets in the way. We were saying we haven't even spoken in like the group chat or not, and everyone's just
No, I
so
know. Like,
busy.
because well, I suppose there's been no women's game, has there?
Yeah,
Apart from the
yeah. We only speak to each
internationals.
other when the women's football season.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's all we have in common. I really don't like any of you, to be honest. So yeah, I'm glad
Well,
glad we've
I'm
got the
glad
one
you
thing we have in
finally
common
said it.
back.
Yeah, but we'll end it there. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you probably Sunday or Monday for some post-match content. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Yeah.